Antidepressants are mind-altering, brain and mind-altering drugs like alcohol, like cannabis, etc.
What is the serotonin myth that you think you're correcting?
One of the biological theories of depression that was proposed several decades back now was the idea that depression is due to a deficiency of certain brain chemicals. And serotonin was one of the brain chemicals that was suggested to be relevant in depression in particular. So this is referred to as the serotonin theory of depression. It was articulated by medical researchers back in the 1960s, but then it was recruited by the pharmaceutical industry when they released the SSRIs in the late 1980s and early 1990s to help to market that range of drugs. And that's when this idea that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance became really widely known by the general public.
Do you think people who go on to antidepressants still think that this is the reason? And what's your evidence for that?
I think there's an assumption by the medical profession as well as by patients that antidepressants work by targeting some underlying biological abnormality. And yet that has not been demonstrated.
Are you saying that SSRIs are a bit like alcohol?
Absolutely.
They change the way you feel?
Absolutely. Antidepressants are mind-altering, brain and mind-altering drugs like alcohol, like cannabis, etc. That doesn't mean that the effects that they produce are exactly the same as the effects that alcohol produces, but in principle, they do the same thing. They change our mental states quite subtly in the case of many antidepressants, but nevertheless, they do produce these changes, particularly this characteristic emotional numbing.
Millions of people are taking them, and presumably a lot of them feel that they are being helped, that it's working. And they don't know why, and they don't really care why. They just know that it's making them feel better. Otherwise, they wouldn't carry on taking them.
Yes, which is why we need to look at the randomized control trials and try and understand the results of those and recognize that actually most of the effect of the antidepressant is a placebo effect. And a placebo effect, of course, is about having some hope that you will get better. It's not just about being duped that you're, taking something that doesn't really work. It is the hope that people get. The trouble is that I think antidepressants are giving people false hope. And a lot of people may feel better initially, but actually there will come a point when they realize that the antidepressant isn't working anymore, or they've still got problems. And then they can often feel even worse because they feel, oh gosh, I've had the treatment that's supposed to work. It's not working for me. I must be a really specially severe case. What on earth am I going to do? And that can put people in an even worse place.